What's up, guys? This is CG with Politics Mob, and today I'm talking about all the crazy Donald Trump news from the last month. May 2017 was insane.
The President of the United States has terminated the director of the FBI.
Are there Russian ties between the Trump campaign officials and the Russians?
First, we had the Sally Yates testimony. Sally Yates is the former acting attorney general. I say former acting attorney general because she was fired when she refused to enforce Trump's Muslim ban. On May 8th, Yates testified that she informed the White House earlier this year that General Michael Flynn was at risk for being blackmailed by the Russians.
The underlying conduct that General Flynn had engaged in was problematic in and of itself.
This is because of his contacts with Russian officials and the more than $45,000 he's been paid to give speeches and attend events. This is a really big deal because at the time, Michael Flynn was the national security advisor. Trump did eventually fire Flynn, but it took him 18 days to do it. That means for nearly 3 weeks, someone was in the White House, even though Trump knew this person was a national security risk, and he still gave him classified information. Also, see if you think this is a coincidence. Michael Flynn was only fired after news started to come out that he has a lot of Russia connections. The next day, on May 9th, Trump fired FBI Director James Comey. At the time, it was stated by the administration that the reason why he was fired was because Attorney General Jeff Sessions and Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein said that he should be. These recommendations were apparently based on the fact that Comey mishandled the Hillary Clinton email situation last year.
It all pertained to the handling by the director of the investigation of the Clinton emails.
I mean, why now are you concerned about the Hillary Clinton email investigation?
This makes absolutely no sense. Because all you have to do is go back to last year to see Donald Trump say this.
There's little doubt that FBI Director Comey and the great special agents of the FBI will be able to collect more than enough evidence to garner indictments against Hillary Clinton.
Right. Or, as Keith Olbermann said,
it is axiomatic, it is simple, it is eternal, it is proven. You cannot fire the man who is investigating you.
This is why people started saying we need a special counsel to investigate. Then the next day, Trump had a meeting in the Oval Office with the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov and the Russian Ambassador to the US Sergei Kislyak. Because of course he did. No American media were even allowed to witness this meeting. Because of course they weren't. The only reason why we even have images from the meeting is because Russian reporters were allowed in. Mr. President, these people hacked our election. Now, as of right now, there is no direct evidence linking you to this situation. But Mr. President, these people hacked our election. Why did you meet with them in the Oval Office? It makes absolutely no sense. Whatever, moving on. Okay, so remember how the White House said that James Comey was fired because of what Jeff Sessions and Rosenstein said? 2 days after they fired James Comey, Trump said this.
Look, he's a showboat, he's a grandstander.
Monday you met with the Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein.
Right.
Did you ask for a recommendation?
What I did is I was going to fire Comey. My decision. It was not...
You had made the decision before they came in the room.
I was going to fire Comey.
During that interview on NBC, Trump actually admitted that he personally asked James Comey whether or not he was under investigation. There's been all kinds of debate about whether or not this is even legal. And so, more calls for a special counsel. The day after that, completely unprovoked, Donald Trump tweeted this. James Comey better hope there are no tapes of our conversations before he starts leaking to the press. Ironically, on May 17th, a memo of a conversation between Donald Trump and James Comey actually did leak to the media. We learned that former FBI Director James Comey actually makes memos of all his important conversations. Allegedly, President Trump even asked him to end the investigation into National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, but Comey did not agree to stop the investigation. Many people also believe that this is the real reason why James Comey was fired from the FBI. This might be obstruction of justice. That's an impeachable offense. At this point, people were basically screaming for a special counsel because
you cannot fire the man who is investigating you.
Now we have to go back to that meeting in the White House with the Russians. We learned that Donald Trump leaked classified intelligence to the Russians during his meeting with them. According to reports, the original source of the intel was an ally of the United States, but that ally did not authorize the United States to share this information with the Russians. A lot of national security experts reported that based on what was said in that meeting, the Russians could tell that the intelligence actually came from Israel. Side note, during that meeting, Donald Trump also told the Russians that he thinks James Comey is a nut job.
Susan wants to know about the expression, the pot calling the kettle black, and what that means and where it comes from. So, this is an expression that is used to indicate hypocrisy.
Just an FYI. In response to this news, National Security Advisor H.R. McMaster said the sharing of intel with the Russians was wholly appropriate and essentially a non-issue. And President Trump said this.
Just so you understand. Just so you understand, I never mentioned the word or the name Israel. I never mentioned it.
Mr. President, one, nobody said that you did. The argument is that based on what you did say, the Russians could tell it was Israel that gave us the intelligence. Two, defending yourself in this way basically confirms that it's Israel, stepping all over your own point. And so, on May 17th, a special counsel was appointed.
Yay!
Finally. Special counsel is a lawyer who has the authority to investigate autonomously without reporting to the White House, which could be considered a conflict of interest. The person appointed to this position is Robert Mueller, who ironically was the director of the FBI before James Comey was. Mr. Mueller, you're gonna have your hands full. Reports surfaced that not only did Donald Trump ask James Comey to stop the Russia investigation, but he also asked the Director of National Intelligence, Dan Coats, and the Director of the National Security Agency, Admiral Mike Rogers, publicly to deny that the Trump campaign had any ties to Russia during the 2016 election. Both officials refused to do so according to the reports. For everyone out there that thinks that the president is attempting to obstruct justice, this was not a good look. To make matters worse for the White House, it was confirmed that top Russian officials had discussions about how they could influence Donald Trump through his top advisors. This apparently was specifically related to former Trump campaign manager Paul Manafort, former Trump advisor Carter Page, and former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn. All three men have documented ties to Russia. And in the middle of all this, President Trump had to take his first official foreign trip, where this happened.
Move, bitch! Get out the way! Get out the way!
There's a new scandal in the White House every day. They have a million problems. But instead of trying to fix that, instead of maybe doing something about what's happening right now, as soon as Donald Trump came back from his trip, he decided to hold a campaign rally. Wow. Does the president finally get it? We'll see.